right off the top here, I think we need to acknowledge that hopefully the right result was reached in the Derek Chauvin case, and that we are going to move forward, hopefully, this is me putting on my lawyer hat now, in a system of justice in the United States where your race, your gender, your religion, and your ethnicity do not factor in to the outcome of court cases. And you guys know this, unless I have spent an inordinate amount of time studying and watching and seeing every bit of evidence that the jury has seen, I try to avoid diving into the particulars of a case unless I'm as well informed as I possibly could be. So I'm not going to break down the larger construct of the Chauvin case. But I would say this. I hope that this is a furtherance of what should be the ultimate goal of the American judicial system. And let me say this as a lawyer. The American judicial system, because it is created by men, is flawed. Everything that man has ever created in the history of mankind is flawed because all of us are imperfect. But the American justice system is the envy of the world in the way that we have applied the law to our country. Does not mean that it has always been flawless. Certainly it is not. Does not mean that the American justice system has been without bias. Certainly it is not. But I believe that over time, the American justice system has become more just. And I would hope that that is going to continue to be the case. As I have said many times on this program, my goal is to treat everybody the exact same. I don't believe in identity politics. I don't believe in treating somebody better or worse based on how they look, who they love, who they worship, what their background is. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in separating people based on race, religion, ethnicity, sexuality. None of it, okay? But Lady Justice is blind for a reason. Because the goal is, if you've ever seen the scales of justice, the goal is to measure the facts and render the appropriate justice. And I hope that we are moving towards a more perfect union as it pertains to that. Some of you are going to say, why you even mention this? Well, because the justice system has become inextricably intertwined in many ways with the larger discussion of politics and social issues that have become embedded in our sports leagues. My hope, and I've been saying this for a long time, and I will continue to say it, my hope is that sports can be a uniting as opposed to a dividing element in this country. I would say right now, there is often very divisive discussion that surrounds sports. My hope is that sports can be a place where people, as I've said for a long time, when you are in an arena or you are in a stadium and your favorite team scores, wins a game, you don't think about any of the things that make you different with everybody else in that stadium and arena. You think about your common humanity and the fact that you're all cheering for the same team. And I think we need more of that in America, not less. And so my hope is that in the months and the years ahead, and certainly we've had a lot of divisive ones over the last 5 or 6 years that we've been doing this show, that sports can become more of a unifying factor than a dividing factor in this country. And so those are my thoughts on the Derek Chauvin case, on the George Floyd murder trial, everything that is surrounding that. And again, I'm not putting my lawyer hat on here and dissecting the prosecution and the defense attorneys and everybody else because, frankly, I did not watch enough of the trial or cover it enough as a person who was reading the transcripts and everything else. I don't trust a lot of times as a lawyer, being frank. I always want to read the transcripts myself because when I practice law, one of the things that I learned is there's only 3 things that matter in every case: the facts, the facts, the facts. And very often the media does not focus on the things that are the most important as a lawyer, what I would focus on. So I always like to look at the transcripts. I always like to look at the totality of a case. I have not analyzed it, so I'm not sitting here saying this was a good prosecutorial decision, this was a bad defense attorney decision. I haven't seen that enough. Now, when cases directly implicate the world of sports, Deshaun Watson, for instance, I cover that in an aggressive manner. So I try not to miss anything. If Deshaun Watson's case goes to trial, if that story continues to evolve, trust me on this, I will be plugged in on that because there's a major sports component to that story. Same thing, by the way, with OJ. Back in the day, and this was before I was a lawyer, I was just a kid, but I was fascinated by the O.J. Simpson trial, as I'm sure many of you were. And O.J. Simpson, obviously, being a former star athlete, I was locked in. And if we ever have a case like that, even the Aaron Hernandez trial, I was pretty locked in and paying attention to that in a significant way. But I hope that this leads towards a more just America, as I hope that every single case that goes in front of a jury does. In that I believe that ultimately the single most important thing we can do in this country is treat everybody the exact same in a court of law. Now, it's not going to happen, candidly, because one of the most important things in a court of law is how much money you have. And the more money you have, the better attorneys you can end up being able to hire and the better legal representation you can get. And I don't foresee that changing in the future, but I would hope that what distinguishes outcomes is not race, gender, ethnicity, or religion in any way. So this story, I'm glad that it appears that most of the country, this is what I was most concerned about, most of the country, it does not appear that there were any riots, any major sort of injuries or negative consequences for many different states and cities out there. And I would hope that this would instill some more faith in the American judicial system, which I believe, again, while it is imperfect, is the single best judicial system that has ever existed in the history of the world. I really do believe that. And that is coming from someone who has studied the law. People want to pick apart everything about the judicial system. I'll never tell you that it's perfect. It never will be, because, again, it's created by men. But I do think that the United States justice system is the envy of the world, and I think that's justifiably the case.